Welcome everybody to Talking Elite. On tonight's episode, we are talking everything good, bad, and the ugly of the gimmicks during the golden era of professional wrestling. There was some great gimmicks everywhere from the Macho Man to the Hulkster to Andre the Giant, but there was also some stinkers, and why do they even do this? So, I have assembled the best wrestling panel possible for this episode. First, he is the Colorado Man. He is the 5-star man himself, Mr. Jacobs.
Thank you for allowing me back on the Elite Zone. This is really a topic that I'm really ready to dive into because, like I said before we started the cast, I didn't want to date myself, but I was there at this point in time, so it's gonna be fun.
Somebody hand Mr. Jacobs some Viagra and make sure he gets his prostate checked because he is going to be showing his age tonight. Next, we have the Bubba to my Devon, the Triple H to my Shawn Michaels, the Butch to my Bushwhacker. He is everybody's favorite Tennessee Wonder. He is the bearded wonder himself, Adam.
Hello. Yes, very excited. I was at the tail end of the 80s, so I'm showing my age too, like Mr. Jacobs, but I kind of remember a majority of everything from the 80s, of the golden age of wrestling with gimmicks and stuff. So
I was not even a thought bubble, so I'm sorry for making you guys feel old.
Thanks, Lane.
It's okay, Adam. Time we get this done, you can easily go and get your senior citizen discount at the movie theater.
No, I'm already getting AARP emails, so it's fine.
Don't forget to sign up for that annuity life insurance policy. Make sure you have that as well.
Help! I've fallen. I can't get down.
He's got Life Alert in the mail too. So.
Life Alert's on its way.
Life Alert's on its way. And finally, it would not be the All Elite Zone podcast without our producer, our wonderful friend. He is everybody's favorite CM Punk fan and our good friend and yours. Please welcome producer Connor to the show.
It should be a good one. We've already started off to a pretty hot run, which we're gonna run wild in this episode.
What you gonna do when Connor runs wild through you?
So we're gonna run wild and yeah, this should be a really good one.
Oh man! Yeah. For those of you guys that don't know, Mr. Jacobs passionately hates Hulk Hogan
with a great passion.
With a great passion. And if you guys haven't seen the Dark Side of the Ring episode, I would really strongly recommend watching the Hulkster. That was probably one of the best episodes we've done because it was just a hour and a half burial of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
it was so fun.
It was.
I'd do it again if I got a chance.
Maybe we'll do a part 2 down the road because hey, the more that he says on podcasts, the more content we give. so I don't know if that's a bad thing. I think Hogan should just keep going, and it's crazy. He is in a lot. Content. Think about it. Ric Flair, right, has a lot worse things happen to his body. He's almost died like twice. But man, at least he admits to his faults. Hogan just keeps changing his own history. I don't know who's worse about that, Vince McMahon or Hulk Hogan.
Hulk is the worst, definitely. Mm-hmm. Vince will at least eventually come out and say what's going on. But Hulk, he just goes with the lie.
Don't forget, he wrestled 400 days in a year. All that time flying back between Japan.
Not impossible.
And this is from Metallica.
Right.
Oh, and did you guys know that Hulk Hogan played for the Jackson 5? No one knew this, but he had a big afro.
Oh, God.
Hulk Hogan played for the Jackson 5, but there was also an alternate version of the Hogan 5. It was Hogan and Randy Hogan, and all the little hoagies, the whole hoagies.
Randy Hogan. I heard that name is so long.
You know, I kind of want to see that now. So hopefully, since AI is just getting more and more popular, we're going to get Jackson 5 songs sung in the style of Hulk Hogan and Macho Man.
Don't forget Randy Hogan. He's the biggest part of it.
Oh
Then you
God.
got Brooke Hogan. She's part of it.
I think do you guys? I'm gonna let you guys decide. Do you guys want to start with the good and then work our way all the way to the bad, or do you want to start with the bad right off the bat?
Mm. That's a tough one, man.
Okay, well, since we're trying to
Hell,
decide,
why not
I do
just
got
one?
Lane, I was gonna say, Lane, this is your baby, so
This is
you
my
decide
baby.
if we're gonna. I mean, we're gonna decide
Yeah.
if you want to start with the good, the bad, or the ugly. So I'll let you decide because I'm not gonna decide.
Dang.
Yeah, that's
Well,
a good
you know
idea.
what? I got a good equalizer before we jump into the good. So, how about a very controversial gimmick / name change that happened? The Texas Tornado himself, Kerry Von Erich. Okay, so you already had the biggest name in professional wrestling, like one of the biggest names in professional wrestling history, with being a Von Erich.
Well, it's the biggest family name, I would
Biggest
say,
family
in the
name, yeah.
80s. Yeah. I mean, they were everywhere in the South.
Yeah.
But why would you bring him in and not keep him as Von Erich?
Well,
Why
they were
would you
rock
give
stars.
Why would you give him the name the Texas Tornado? You already had the lineage. He was popular in the Texas
Now,
territory. Why would you change his name?
I mean, that's that's Vince McMahon doing the WWF thing. They had to make him marketable, and you know, whenever you go there, you have to go play by their rules. You're gonna get your name changed. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get kind of a redoing of your gimmick. I mean, that's just comes with the territory. I mean, they did that to Hulk Hogan. They did that to, they did that to Macho Man because they kind of changed up his style once he got to the WWF because he was like this savage before he even got to the WWE or F, and then they kind of swerved it into a kind of a different kind of gimmick, and that's just the WWE way or the WWF way is that you're gonna have to be made marketable to sell T-shirts and action figures and what have you. I mean that's just marketing basically.
Yeah, especially in those 80 times when you still had some of the the other small promotions like the AWA and Jim Crockett and all that. Like if you're coming over to the WWF, they got to find a way to get you again marketable, like Mr. Jacob said, and we've talked about in that Vincent McMahon episode, Lane. It's marketability within a name. I mean, you look at it, other sports things. I mean, you look at boxing. Every boxer has a surname or like a nickname, like Iron Mike Tyson, or the Real Deal Holyfield. Like you see these, and then in MMA today, you see those fighters that have those kind of nicknames, So I think Vince kind of looked at that and said, let's give some nicknames to some of these guys. I mean, look at when Hogan came back in NWO and he was Hollywood Hulk Hogan, so it is a markability thing for sure.
It's just crazy to think that he went from tag team goal with his family and then to the Texas Tornado. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember a lot of his run as Texas Tornado. Wasn't it brief before he ended up dying?
He just wrestled in Texas and was a tornado.
Smart ass. Like, do you guys remember like any big moment with Texas Tornado?
It's
I know he won the Intercontinental.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny is I believe his nickname kind of gave birth to the style match of the Texas Tornado match. I feel like that nickname kind of there's a reason why they called him Texas Tornado is because of Texas Tornado Von Erich. So it's like it might be a way of the gimmicky of it, the gimmicky name of it. So I don't know, but I can't remember a lot of matches he had as that character.
I can't either.
Yeah, me
Connor,
neither.
you were saying that he won the Intercontinental Championship.
Yes, he did win the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know when, where, how. But, I do a lot of wrestling quizzes. I know that he won the Intercontinental Championship. I believe he won it right when
Yeah, that is true.
he went when like the Mountie was winning it and Mr. Perfect. And,
So it was during that time frame.
It was in the golden era. It was
Gotcha.
I couldn't tell you what year it was, but I do know he won. Yeah. I do know he won the Intercontinental Championship. Only one time, but he won it.
But it was around that time frame where it was basically the workhorse belt. If you were, where it pretty much got its name, where you were, jobbing or just having those weird matches here and there, and then getting the Intercontinental belt. Okay, well, let's start with the good. So talk controversial. Shout out to the Von Erich family. We are going to do a special on the Von Erichs here in December. So it's going to be a lot of fun for that one. So we're going to start working on that here shortly. But I just like to give you guys a little taste because I feel like that was really almost like a rift within their family when Kerry did decide to jump ship to the WWE.
Well, I mean, you have to think of it at this point. It's more so about where can you make a profit as a wrestler? Where are you going to make money as a wrestler? So right now, I'm actually watching the show on Netflix called Wrestlers on the OVW, and I mean, it seems to be the main focus of their show is money, like money about how do you turn a profit at a show. How are you going to afford, the props for, street fights, all this stuff, how are you going to pay the wrestlers? So as far as Von Erich going to WWF, it was basically a money decision. In the smaller promotions, he probably wasn't making much and he needed to feed his family. So it was basically a financial decision.
It's kind of sad to think that, but at the time, Vince started poaching talent from all the territories. This is really where the territory started dying. Because think about it, you brought in Hogan, Macho Man, Andre the Giant. You had so many big hits. When you guys, Hot Rod. When you guys think big meat baby faces, who is the first wrestler that comes to your mind?
Biggest baby faces.
Mm-hmm.
So probably in that area.
Well, at that time, I think the Ultimate Warrior was one of the biggest baby faces.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan. Yeah. I mean, the Ultimate Warrior. You didn't say Hulk Hogan. Probably Macho Man, Randy Savage was a big one too.
So Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes for me. You have to remember Dusty Rhodes was still huge in the 80s. In championship wrestling in Florida. I mean, and then with his feud with Ric Flair, Ric Flair kind of was like the heel. But as far as baby faces on other promotions go, Dusty was definitely up there as one of the best baby faces in the country as far as pro wrestling goes in the 80s.
It's crazy to think that he got polka dots over.
It is, but it's insane. It's insane the way a guy his size at that time, seeing him in the ring, like people were kind of impressed by what he can do in the ring. Even some of his shake, rattle, and roll elbow, like it just he just really like between him and Junkyard Dog. I think with all that that the Southern wrestling promotions that were down there, him and Junkyard were basically the names down there.
So Vince McMahon really poached like almost every end of the states, and even Canada too. Because
you can say that.
When I think baby faces, there's a tag team that comes to mind. That's the Hart Foundation, especially with Brett and the Anvil. Because I think classic tag teams or even like some of the best wrestling feuds, almost a lot of them involve the Hart Foundation. And Brett really was just basically himself. He knew he was the best wrestler. He looked cool. He had the hair, the sunglasses. He sold toys. But I feel like, as a gimmick, like he really didn't have to do a whole lot to get over.
And it's
That's
funny
true.
too because it's really funny because as far as the Hart family goes, it like it, just the generational talent in that family is just phenomenal, and it all started in the 80s, with Stu Hart training all those kids in the dungeon, up there in Calgary, and it's like the way that they blossomed, like it's very impressive to see a family, we compare them with the Von Erichs, so it's like those kind of wrestling families, that kind of the generational talent that grows from them, so you really can't deny that in the 80s a lot of the Harts were very up there too, as far as marketability and just well-known wrestlers.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely true.
I think Macho Man, another big personality. I feel like he had the better personality over, the Hulkster. I know Hogan had the belt more and had more of the championship run, but I feel like there's more memorable moments with Macho Man, him and Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah. One of the main ones I can think of
Right. Yeah.
is
Yeah, I think he was the better character, and the better athlete all around, actually.
like one of the best ones I can like picturing Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth was when Jake the Snake Roberts crashed their wedding, and the snake bit Randy Savage. That's one memory that will always live in wrestling history. At least for me, it will.
That snake is. You know how many kids were terrified of Jake Roberts after that night?
And then he would do promos basically in the dark, outside in the woods, and just talking.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. That scared the hell out of me that night.
He has. I think Jake too. If you want to look at another big.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with Jake the Snake, man. He had that voice. The way he would speak to you. He'll talk to your soul, as if he was talking right to your soul. And the way his cadence, and like the way he would bring out his promos was like it was so that you actually thought this man was something was wrong with this dude, and at the same time, he was methodical. He would systematically go out of his way to get inside of his opponent's heads, and that's one of the things that kind of stuck out to me with Jake the Snake. And when he pulls out Damien, I mean, I remember watching back in the day him and Yokozuna, and Yokozuna was terrified of the damn snake. Seeing him, the whole character was perfect. I believe that's probably one of the coolest characters ever as far as a heel was Jake the Snake Roberts.
Well, what about to go along with that, not only Yokozuna, there was another big guy that was afraid of that snake, and that was Andre. Do you remember that battle royal when he threw the snake in the ring? Andre went over the rope. He eliminated himself because he wanted to be in the ring with the snake.
I don't remember this.
I remember that.
Such a great. There's so many good memories, and we talk about wrestlers, which is weird because I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but we talk about. I know we're talking about individuals because the thing that I was looking forward to talking tonight, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, Lane. Please stop me if I am. But the topic for me that's good. The good and the bad from the golden age of the 80s was promotions, was all the different promotions in the 80s.
That is true. Actually, to be honest with you, I didn't even have that really on the list for a night. So let's dive into that. Let's add this into our segment, Mr. Adam. So what was for you, what was the best promotions aside from the WWF? What good promotions and things that were happening during that time frame stood out to you?
Well, you got to remember the NWA was still going strong.
Yep.
The NWA literally, still had the likes of Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Junkyard Dog coming in their promotion. They even had appearances by, Jerry Lawler. But Jerry Lawler was with, Continental Wrestling Association. and that was a time when he was feuding with comedian Andy Kaufman. So but not only the NWA, but you had the AWA, the American Wrestling Association, had their champion Nick Bockwinkel was a 4-time AWA champion. I mean, that's a name you could think. Gene Okerlund and Bobby Heenan were talents there. That's where Hogan came from. Hogan came from AWA. And then it's funny because that's where they coined the phrase "dusty finishes" in matches was AWA.
Right.
And it's so funny because you had basically one of the most well-known wrestlers kind of like as a head honcho there, and that's Vern Gagne. Vern Gagne was kind of like a head down there in the AWA back in the 80s. And so it was really crazy. And then you have the predecessor to WCW, which was WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling. I mean, that's the predecessor to WCW back in the 80s. I mean, that's where the Von Erich family like pretty much ruled when they went. They went to World Class Championship Wrestling. They feuded with Gary Hart, with his crew.
Right.
And then, and then it literally, though, that like the WCCW actually, if you think about it, was kind of the precursor to WCW and kind of competed with WWF in the earlier times. So, I mean, and again, that's why it culminates to the whole fact that all these guys, wrestlers that we talk about, started in these promotions, but they got picked up by Vince McMahon in WWF.
Yeah.
Look at look at the things that happened in Japan too. Because think about it. You had Hulk Stern wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling. You had Andre the Giant wrestling for New Japan, and have these two that basically were the biggest characters, biggest personalities, biggest guys, literally in life, and to be like the centerfold of your company. Like it when you think classic wrestling, like you automatically think of Hogan body slamming Andre. You think of the bigger, fortunately as well. You also think about the roided out wrestlers as well.
Because we're talking about promotions, and I live basically in Memphis, Tennessee. I live like 15, 20 minutes. I could just walk to Memphis if I wanted to. Adam talked about it, Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman. That was a big thing. One of the Jerry Lawler's Bar and Grill just recently, and they have the neck brace that he wore in like a glass sealed thing that they have. And that was a big deal because Jerry Lawler actually beat him up on a talk show one time. I can't remember what it was, but
it was David Letterman.
David, yeah, cause I remember it was on one of them, and that was a big thing. And Memphis wrestling was just about everyone started out in Memphis. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Kurt Angle started out in Memphis. The Rock. Then they also had some guys that people may not know, but Doug Gilbert and Eddie Gilbert. You have the Fabulous Ones. You have the Rock and Roll Express. Superstar Bill Dundee, which I don't expect everyone to know who these people are, but Memphis wrestling, everyone likes to say, like when you think of Memphis wrestling, it's all Jerry Lawler, but there's a lot of bigger names in Memphis than Jerry Lawler. There was who was the guy that shaved who was one that shaved Jerry Lawler's head? I don't know who it was.
I know who you're talking about. I can't for the life of me remember.
I'm going to Google it now.
I know Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler.
I know the name. Something to my tongue.
Because there was a big. It might have been Bill Dundee actually.
Well, Jeff Jarrett's dad helped run a little bit of Memphis, didn't he?
Yeah,
run the Memphis wrestling.
And
okay, let's see. Let's see. I was trying to see.
Like there was and my grandpa would tell me stories about.
Yeah, that time I believe he. That time he was running it.
Oh, it was Austin Idol.
Austin Idol, that's it. Austin Idol. He beat Jerry Lawler and he shaved his head. And then
That name just wow. That
Austin
just
Idol.
That's
Okay.
like I actually went to AEW in 2020 when they came to South Haven, Mississippi, and I got to meet Austin Idol. He was there for AEW.
That's an old school name right there.
that
like
is,
my,
yeah.
like my grandpa would tell me all these stories because he went to
Mm.
Memphis wrestling at the Mid South Coliseum, and he would tell me that around that story that there was people literally throwing beer balls out the ring, throwing everything they could because they hated Austin Idol, like they hated him. Uh, it was a. I wish I could live through those times because uh, living through something like that, like the whole crowd hating someone with a passion, literally wanting they probably would have beat him up if they would have saw him outside the outside the Coliseum.
because what last time we had something like that happen was what MJF versus Cody. Was it the last time we literally had hate like that in a ring?
When was Seth Rollins'
I think
thing?
so.
When the fan, you remember the fan that jumped Seth Rollins or whatever
Yeah,
that was?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, we're talking about that a fan threw that drink at MJF.
Yeah.
I think the other one would be like Matt Cardona when he won the championship against Nick Gage. That's the other, like, I guess, most recent big heated moment where people were throwing beer bottles, razors, knives, pizza cutters. It's crazy to think how real wrestling was too during the golden era too.
Those
Even with
fans are
like
not
marginalized
happy.
characters. Yeah, because if you look at it, you also had Undertaker. He came around
Mhm.
and his whole like debut with with Brother Love, which is a very
Yeah.
interesting combination for sure. I don't know much about the Brother Love character, but I do love Undertaker. But what was the concept of Brother Love? Like what was his managing kind of character?
I
Um,
think the concept of it was he was this. Well, I say they couldn't use religion, so they used love instead of God, or So he would just say, "I love you," instead of "God bless you" or whatever. But the whole point of it was that these, because at the time in the '80s, televangelists were huge. They were big. I mean, big time. And of course, WWE capitalizing off of everything, or WWF. They made a character named him Brother Love, and like his face was red, like he'd been preaching all day. And I mean, personally, I thought it was a cool character, but there are a lot of people that were Christian out there that kind of felt it was kind of blasphemous or sacrilegious, and I can't argue with that. But it's wrestling. I mean,
Yeah,
it's wrestling. You got a dead man walking around. I mean, come on, you gotta suspend disbelief.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's funny because Bruce Pritchard, like Mr. Jacob said, he took the inspiration from the televangelists. People like Jim Baker back in the Oral Roberts, and then he said his biggest one is, I mean, and Lane, you're in Texas,
Yeah.
you might know this name, Robert Tilton, who was former pastor of the World of Faith
Yeah.
Family Church in Dallas, in the suburb of Dallas, back in the late '80s, early '90s. So that was a big one, but again, it's the gimmicky thing. It's what's hot right now. What can we use as a gimmick that's hot right now? You look at all the villains that
Right.
Hogan had to fight in his career. They were all foreign. The Iron Sheik, even Andre, he's from the Great Alps of France. He wasn't from the US. So like it was all the gimmicks. And so I think it was just something Vince and Bruce Pritchard just came up. They're like, let's do it.
Right.
Did you guys think that he was the right pick to manage Undertaker for his first, couple matches? Or do you think it should have been Paul Bearer from the start?
I think it was the right call. I mean, Bruce Pritchard at that time, I think he was almost like a shoe-in as far as like writing and producing backstage. I think he had a foot in. So it's like, I felt like it was his job, like polar opposite of what it was you're going to have a televangelist bring out a guy who's supposed to be like the dead man. Like, but you're a preacher. character. So you're like, this guy came back from the dead because God loves him or something like that, but it works. It told a story. I love the transition from Brother Love to Paul Bearer because it changed the whole dynamic of the manager wrestler duo. So I think Brother Love was a good start. It was a little out of place, but it worked.
That makes sense now. I'm looking at it now. Like, I feel like it makes a lot more sense talking about it.
Right.
So I was able to. My grandpa gave me these pictures, and I was able to. I'm gonna pull them up. We was talking about Austin Idol, and I thought this would be pretty cool to share.
All right, why don't you share it?
Here's one where Jerry Lawler is getting his hair cut off by. I believe that might be Jeff Jarrett right there in the blue.
Is that Jeff Jarrett or Jerry Jarrett?
It's one of the two. It looks.
I think it's too young. I think it's too
like
older to be
Jarrett.
Jeff. It might be a young Jeff.
It kind of looks like Jerry.
One of them is Austin Idol, and then Power Driver with Jerry Lawler. This is a steel cage match. This isn't like the steel cage match you see today. Like those were, like, this is a steel cage.
Wasn't it meant to keep people actually out instead of escaping? Like, I know WWE does an escape, but weren't they more used for a weapon and to keep tag teams and other people out from interfering?
Basically, yeah.
Since we're speaking about steel cages, let's talk about the first person to jump off of a steel cage in the WWF. Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
That was a moment in history right there.
I mean, yeah, no. I mean, I think the character was awesome. I think it was a cool, but yeah, no, that moment is just, it's crazy to think that he was the first person. He wasn't in the first steel cage match, but he definitely was the first one to jump off of it. I mean, because a lot of people, it was, I believe, King Kong Bundy and Hogan in the first cage match. Mm-hmm. And then the second match was the Jimmy Snuka one where he jumped off. But I love the original concept of the steel cage match where it wasn't you have to escape the steel cage. It's more so we keep people out of it and you two just fight. It was more so of containment than trying to get away from your opponent. It's like no one's going to interfere. That's how it was back in the 80s. I think that's what made it more exciting because, obviously you see today all the, heels have all these friends who come in and try to screw the baby face, and that's how they did it back then. But instead of helping the heel get out of the cage and contain the face in the cage back in the 80s, it was to keep all the heels friends out. So the heel had no chance of getting the advantage on the baby face. So I think that's why the original concept of the steel cage, I liked better than what they do now with it.
Agree. Because looking back, look at Kerry Von Erich versus Ric Flair.
Yeah, I agree with that also.
That was I think the oldest steel cage match I've watched, one of the oldest matches I've watched with a steel cage. And that one, just the blow off, made a lot of sense with how, big of a heel Ric Flair was back then. And just to see, it was that story. Like, worse, there's been a lot better steel cage matches, match wise. But the story wise, it made sense to be in a steel cage.
Yeah, I think so because because the way the story was going, I mean, it had to have led up to a point to where, okay, we're going to put you in the ring, we're going to surround you, with the cage around you, so that you have no other choice but to duke it out. No other choice. Ain't no getting in, ain't no getting out. You're going to fight, and somebody's gonna be walking out of there. One person will. I mean, to me, like Mark said, not Mark, but like Adam said, I feel like that made it more compelling to watch. Whenever it's not about getting out, it's about making sure nobody else comes in, so they can just duke it out, just these two, and see who's the better man. I mean, to me, that was the whole point of it all.
Because when did they add escaping the cage like to be part of the match?
90s, I want to say, like the early mid 90 cage matches. That's when they kind of introduced it.
Mm.
But even then, like it was a rarity where they decided you have to escape to win.
Yeah.
More so of just keeping containment. It wasn't, I don't think, until 97 when they did Hell in a Cell is when they really took the idea of, well, Hell in a Cell is meant to keep people out and those two in. So why don't we flip it and say the cage, you can try to escape. So I want to say somewhere in the 90s is where that idea of keeping the two competitors in there versus the idea is to pin, submit, or escape.
Okay. Fair enough for sure. Let's kind of shift gears a little bit. Let's start talking about some of the big guys that really, really kind of stood out. You know, look, going back to kind of like Yokozuna. You know, it's so crazy to think Yokozuna wasn't actually Japanese; that he was just a big Samoan.
The
Isn't he the biggest wrestler to date that wrestled in the WWE ring?
Probably so.
I believe so.
I mean, he's the heaviest WWF champion in the history of the company, so I know that for sure.
Fair. So,
because when he first won the title, he wasn't. He was big, but then later on, he got even huger. Because I believe if you watch the documentary, that they had him go to the University of UCLA to basically lose some weight because it's about his life, more than about wrestling. Because he's being winded in matches, he would get winded very fast. And one of the stories I believe I said on here that he had someone sneak in burgers inside the UCLA so he could eat while he was trying to lose weight. He came back
I've heard that story too.
I definitely recommend watching that documentary of the Yokozuna on Peacock. Yokozuna was definitely one of a kind. And they were able to fool people.
Yeah, see, rumor has it that he was. Yeah.
Oh no, you can. There you go.
Go ahead, Connor.
Oh, I was just gonna say that they were able to fool people into believing that he was.
I was gonna
Japanese.
say
Then we gotta do it. You can say what you're gonna say, Jacobs.
Oh, I thought you were already done because it's kind of lagging over here on my side. But yeah, rumor has it that he was trying to become the largest wrestler in the world. I think rumor has it that was his goal, was to become the biggest wrestler ever.
And he did it. I don't think nobody's attempted to break that record since. I don't think Big Show never even got that heavy, and he had the height advantage. So Yoko, I think, because it was so crazy. I think that he would eat like 5 buckets of fried chicken a day.
Dang.
Around there, yeah, he would eat a lot of fried chicken. So, but I think he's
what about Viscera?
Oh, Viscera.
Viscera might have been.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Viscera might have got. Well, back when he was
King
Mabel, like he was still a
King
big
Mabel.
guy, but he wasn't that big. Yeah, when he was Mabel, like he wasn't even that big. He was still a big guy, but he wasn't that big, like as big as Yoko, like Yokozuna. Like it wasn't until when he became like Ministry of Darkness, and then he came back as Big V. Like when you saw him come back as Big V, you're like, that guy put on so much weight, a lot of weight.
Damn.
And because and that's what pretty much led to his heart attack, was putting on that much weight and not getting the exercise and all that stuff. It's really sad too, because you look at all those wrestlers that could have done better health wise, and I think I'm not going to say that maybe other things contributed to heart attacks for most of those big wrestlers too, because I mean we've talked about steroid trial with Vince McMahon and stuff going on behind the scenes in pro wrestling, but and all the drugs they used to use in the 80s and the early 90s. But Big Vis was another one, outside of Yokozuna. So, but the thing is, Big V was Viscera was never world champion. So again, like I said, I think Yokozuna to this day is still there as the heaviest world champion that WWF has ever had.
Because I think Viscera was, the heaviest Intercontinental champion, though.
I think so. I don't even know if he won that title.
I don't think
He might
won.
have.
I don't think he won.
I don't think he won anything. I don't think he won any
anything?
titles. The only thing he won was the King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
King of the Ring.
But the biggest accomplishment, or the biggest thing I remember,
the King of the Ring belt made actually.
Like the most thing I remember is New Year's Revolution 2006. Viscera and Shelton Benjamin's mama. If anyone remembers that, well, you know what happens.
Oh my gosh. That was another weird moment.
That.
I forgot about that. That was a core memory I thought I had locked away, but apparently, Connor, you just brought it back up.
2006 was a good year for wrestling for me. Like 2006 was really, really good. Maybe not that segment, but you know.
Fair enough. What about the Big Boss Man? It's so crazy that a jail prison guard was one of the biggest villains.
Fair enough, exactly.
Because on paper it should not work, but it worked for a while. Him
and Nails. I remember him and Nails. They had a huge rivalry. Yeah.
Yeah, Nails. And then to think, he had a great
run. Like this.
Yeah, I think he was more known just for what he stood out as a character. Like, I think it was more just, I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, when you think like prison, you think of that ruthless, that aggression, and that nightstick. But after the golden era, I feel like his character kind of plateaued a little bit.
He went to WCW a little bit, didn't he? He was
he was in WCW for
Big Bubba Rogers.
Came back.
Yeah, he was that Bubba and the Guardian Angel.
Well, what's that match that he had with all the dogs outside the ring that decided to shit around the ring?
Oh, the Kennel from Hell match with Al Snow.
Yes. There was that.
Which may be why Al Snow hates a lot of like gimmicky like matches like that now because of that. But that one was horrible. Dogs didn't do anything.
Or the best moment when he decided to steal Big Show's dad's casket with his cop car and drive away with him.
Oh, yeah,
Big Show on top of it.
Oh man. I mean, that was funny. And the thing is, I couldn't help myself but laugh at that. And I remember when that happened, my mom walked in at me laughing at that. And she was like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Mom, it's wrestling."
Like, was that a real?
What do you want to say?
Dad actually?
Hey, I didn't write it.
Like, no, it wasn't his actual dad.
Well, like I knew his dad really did die, but was that the actual funeral?
No, his dad. No, it wasn't his real dad.
No, it wasn't his. That would be too far.
Well, no, like I knew his dad.
Look at Christian. Christian
that was a real
talks about
cemetery, though.
Dads already, like most of them dead dads. Like it's like we're seeing it now with Christian and AEW talking about dead dads. So I mean, back then
that's a great point.
It was shocker, but today now it's just normal.
Dude, he needs to do a some kind of promo.
We desensitized from it now.
Now he needs to do a Paul White promo. Oh gosh, Adam, see, look at that. You're
I'll do a callback on his dead dad.
Great callback.
Oh man,
I'm surprised Christian didn't bring up Ric Flair's, his son.
I bet Rick would not let him do it.
I don't know. He's brought up a lot of dead people.
Yeah, but I mean, he's had to get permission though first.
He's brought up.
I mean, Rick took that pretty hard, so I doubt he'll let that fly.
Yeah, no.
And Ric Flair is a big name in professional wrestling, it's got to get approved by Rick, and I doubt he would approve it.
Think about it. Look what happened with people being mad with CM Punk leaving AEW, right, and getting fired. Could you imagine that there was controversial stuff and issues with Ric Flair?
Well, no. Also think about David Benoit. Like the poor guy can't catch a break because of what his father did. So it's like, and it sucks too. But it's the same thing with Ric Flair.
Right.
Ric Flair's name is huge, but because of what happened with his son and the sadness and the craziness of it, he doesn't want to talk about it.
No blame. I do not blame at all. So,
not at all.
I think the last really big guy that we have to really talk about though has got to be Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Well, Andre and then Vader. Vader.
I forgot Vader. Okay.
He kind of made his name in
Vader,
the late 80s. Yeah, he kind of blew up in the 80s a little bit, and then he was brought over to WWF, and that's where he really shined.
And also King Kong Bundy.
King Kong Bundy.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam. Oh, I forgot about Bam Bam.
I mean, he had a WrestleMania match with freaking
Big John Studd.
Big John Studd.
Big John Studd, yes.
There was a lot of bigger guys in the Golden Era.
Yeah.
There was a lot of larger than life characters.
But he's not. But Lane's not wrong. I mean, Andre was the one.
Yeah.
That was
right.
basically the name of Giants in the 80s. And it's crazy because if you've watched the documentary on HBO Max about his life, it is crazy to see him at the age of 16. He was already like 7 feet tall, and he was already like 190 pounds. And they were showing footage of him at like 18 years old chopping wood near his house. And it was just insane watching him go from that 18-year-old doing all the crazy stuff in Canada wrestling to doing the States and getting bigger and getting to the size that he was at.
I also think it's kind of sad too how he traveled. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how he traveled all the way to Japan plentiful of times, or over here
two
from France.
Seats. Yeah, he had to sit in 2 seats.
He literally had to sit like this.
Yeah.
Like he literally could not sit up straight in an airplane.
Like I remember in that same documentary that he couldn't go anywhere without a bunch of people holding over him just because he could never get any privacy. He couldn't. I remember he told someone in the documentary that he wished he could be normal. So
that's sad.
I think it was Tim. Yeah. I think it was Tim White, because Tim White was really close with him. The referee, Tim White, he was really close with Andre because he was his handler back in those days. So he was talking about that he's, he'd call him boss, okay, boss, not today, boss. Like him and Andre were really close.
That man could drink so much. It was crazy, like the amounts of alcohol that took that man to get drunk or feel anything. Like, how did you take medication?
He was a true drink champ.
Because think about it, even just taking medication, it's like he had to be in constant pain and agony.
Well, I think that's what came back to bite him a little bit when his health declined later in life. I think it was a lot of the alcohol, but also all the wrestling. Like, I remember the documentary they talked about when he was filming The Princess Bride. The one scene where he catches I keep forgetting the actress's name, but he catches her at the end. They had to put strings on her to lower them into his arms because his arms were just so weak and so beat up from both wrestling and just he couldn't hold. He didn't have the strength anymore, so they had to put strings on her and lower her into his arms to make it look like he caught her.
It's great. Like that man.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, constant pain for sure. But he also think about it, now he's. I think even without being a wrestling fan, everybody knows the name Andre the Giant.
Yeah,
everybody knows that. Every time you watch a WWE programming, he's part of that first video package with him and Hogan. He literally will live forever.
Well, again, and I just mentioned it was Princess Bride. It's such a cult classic that everybody that's seen that movie knows who he is too. That they don't even watch wrestling, but they knew who he was.
They knew who he was. I think he has the biggest figure in the Princess Bride collection. There was one that came out I think last year. It was probably about 10, 15 pounds.
Golly.
It was massive. Like it was at Walmart. I'm like,
Right.
I just don't have the real estate to it, but it literally came in a box this big. It was
Damn.
massive.
That says anything. How, like, I would have loved to meet Andre the Giant, and like actually, like, you know how like that, like a statue, and like they have his hand, and you can put your hand by. On, I would actually like to.
Yeah.
I would have actually loved to have met Andre the Giant, because
Yes.
talking about larger than life characters, larger than life doesn't get better than that.
No. All right. Well, now that we've talked everywhere from Hogan, let's talk about Hot Rod Roddy Piper. I feel like
Okay,
he'll be the
go
last one to close us off because what a controversial heel. You know, the way that, especially with, you know, his infamous now moment, which I don't think we can say on air without getting demonetized.
The kind of like the well, he did a lot of controversial things. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I remember him
Yeah.
and Bad News Brown when he did
That's-
his promo. He was
Yeah.
his face paint was half black.
Yep.
That was a bit much.
That was the one. Yep, that's the one that I know. That's what Lane was talking about too.
I feel like that's what
I
he
was
was
like,
talking
yeah.
about.
Yeah.
You know, but look at you know Piper's Pit. Piper's Pit was like what, one of the first like almost like segments of its kind, like leading the way for like, you know, the Talk is Jericho or
Yeah.
the highlight reel. Sorry, the highlight reel. Or
The Heartbreak
Miss TV.
Hotel with Shawn
Heartbreak
Michaels.
Hotel. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, but in looking at Hot Rod, man, he knew how to get under people's skin. I think he did a better job of doing it than Jerry Lawler. Nothing against Jerry Lawler, but Hot Rod was just such a presence in himself. Like he was very unpredictable.
I'm curious.
And it was and go ahead, Connor. Sorry.
I was gonna say, what is the one most memorable moment that you guys have of the Piper's Pit? I'm curious to see what everyone says.
It's got to be the pint and the coconut
There
upside
you go.
Snooker's
Jimmy
head.
Snuka.
That's probably like the main one for me.
That's what I was going for. Like that's the main one I always remember.
What about
Well,
you,
between
Adam?
between that one and the Bruno San Martino, because Bruno was at the end of his career in the late '80s, and him and Piper kind of had a segment on Piper's Pit, and they actually had a steel cage match. That it was basically one of Bruno San Martino's last matches was against Piper in that steel cage match at the Boston Garden. But those are the two that stuck out to me with the Piper's Pit is him and Snuka and then him and Bruno.
Yeah, him and Snuka is probably, I think, and when I think Piper's Pit, that's usually the one that comes to mind.
I mean, it's
Oh,
funny
and also
too to talk about it
Hogan and
because
Andre the Giant.
yeah.
True.
What were you gonna say?
But
Alan?
I was gonna say that it's funny that when he was over at Jim Crockett's promotion, like, and he came over to WWF, he originally came over as a manager, Piper. He was with David Schultz and Paul Ordenoff. That he was basically with them and basically managing them, and then he kind of transitioned into the wrestling thing quietly, and he wrestled full time. It was because he was so good on the microphone that they gave him the Piper's Pit. Like they're like, you're really good on the microphone. That's why Punk always mentions Piper, because I think Piper is, again, we'll talk about it, is the predated CM Punk. He was good on the microphone. He was very talented in the ring. He can tell stories in and outside of the ring. No matter how controversial they were. And I think that's what kind of translated into Punk's career. Basically as his voice of the voiceless character. And, you know, this, even when he was with Colt Cabana as the Second City Saints, you know, Saviors, you know, back in ROH, you know, it's like Punk kind of modeled his work after Piper. So as far as controversial as he was, Piper was really good at what he did. back in the day, and he carried it all the way through his whole life, up until his passing in 2015. So it's like he is one of. Anytime you hear those bagpipes play, you knew who you were getting. You were getting. It's kind of like when you hear Cult of Personality, you know who you're getting. You're getting someone that's going to put butts in the seats because you don't know what they're going to say on the mic, but you know it's going to be golden, and they're going to have something great in the ring.
I would even almost add MJF.
I never thought about
that conversation. I was kind of thinking about Piper, Punk, and MJF. It's like you want to know what they're going to say next. How many wrestlers have given Hot Rod credit for their promo skills?
Well, you just said it, MJF. Yeah, MJF was one of them. I mean, the man talks about it as well. He talks about, people give crap to MJF about how he works, as his character and in the ring and just how he's a persona. But he understands the lineage of professional wrestling. He understands those that came before him, like the Pipers, like the Flairs, like all that. That's why his character is so good, because it sticks to that kayfabe of pro wrestling that everybody believed in the 80s with all these characters. And MJF is just carrying that now into a newer heelish face, kind of character where, yeah, you hated him, but now you love the guy, but he's still a dick. It's like, it is crazy to think that. You think it like a moment of when Hogan joined NWO, but when NWO, when WCW was bought out by WWF, think of that moment at WrestleMania where Rock and Hogan were face to face. People were still cheering Hogan, even though he was supposed to be the heel in the story. It's like MJF. MJF is supposed to be the heel in most stories, but people were starting to cheer him because of how he presented himself as a character, and everything like that. So, I mean, I think a lot of wrestlers today do respect some of what, someone like Piper did.
I feel like if you're teaching a class on how to cut a promo, people you have to add in there. It's either Dusty Rhodes or Hot Rod Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Those two you literally have to base your promos. You should be watching okay, this is how does their cadence work with their character? How does the story relate? And someone like an up-and-comer like Maria Shavir, we talk a lot and joke a lot about her. But if she can figure out how to come up with a character like that, she literally could change her whole career around.
Yeah, she could.
Give us something to talk about.
All she has to do is do what I said. Go back to the shakeup of the thing we did.
The shakeup, gimmick shakeup.
All she's got to do is Serena Deeb under her wing, and there you go. Change the tights, change the whole gimmick. No more of that stupid throwing your socks in the crowd and then people want to throw them back at you. No more of that. We're going to take things seriously. That would be the way.
I think give her 3 more years. I think we'll be talking about her in a positive light. I really do. So now that we're kind of talked about some of our the most, some of our favorite talkers, I think the biggest and flashiest gimmick that money can buy. We can't leave out Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. The man that could buy your happiness. The man that could pay you $50 to kiss his boots. Just everybody's got a price. And the $1 Million Man really did prove it. Buying championships, trying to buy the main championship. I think he even bought the.
From what I've gathered, researching. Yeah.
No, you're good. There's a little bit of lag.
And from what I've been hearing, the whole $1 Million Man character was man. That was kind of his little gimmick that his baby, I guess you can say. And I don't know if anybody else could have played the $1 Million Man but Ted DiBiase, honestly.
Well, think about it. Vince literally gave him money, the tickets for the jets, the limos. Like, he literally gave him that lifestyle. Like, he literally paid him to be rich and gave him extra shit. Like, it's crazy. Like, if you go back and listen to the podcast, because Adam was one. I think Adam was one of the ones that suggested doing the $1 Million Man. When you go back and listen to the podcast, he literally had the gimmick given to him, and then it's like, here, blank check, buy everything, print money, make me money, damn it. And he lived his gimmick. Sadly, he lived his gimmick too much because, fortunately, him and his son are in the middle of a lawsuit right now for money laundering.
Yeah, I just heard about that.
I'm never going to touch that one.
Yeah, I seen them on the news that they had some more news about that.
Really?
We know he got arrested. Ted DiBiase Jr. He got arrested, and then he got out by bail. He posted bail.
All right, you guys ready for a laugh? You guys ready to? What's up?
Talking about the golden age. It wouldn't be fair to mention this person. Sure. He's behind me. He will be on this podcast one day. He'll be the biggest attraction. He's the biggest attraction of all time in wrestling. He's bigger than Hulk Hogan, Spooner Sammartino. He's bigger than all these guys. Like, Mooney Shavir should be taking notes from this guy. You can see him. Outback Jack. He is the best professional wrestler in the ring, outside the ring, in the woods, in Australia. He is from Honeyboo, Australia, Victoria, Australia as well. One of the best in-ring workers. He's better than MJF. He's actually better than CM Punk as well, and I'm a CM Punk fan. I'm saying that. You can't have the golden era, and you can't do the golden era without talking about this guy. Everyone, he was kissing babies, shaking hands. He was doing it all back in the day. I'm not
so
sure
he was shaking babies and he was shaking babies and kissing hands.
No, the other way around. He was kissing babies and shaking hands. Anyways, he I don't know what he's doing nowadays, but I know he's styling, profiling better than the person who created that whole shtick. But if you're watching Outback Jack, hopefully you're doing well. I know you're living the Hall of Fame career. We wish you the best.
Hopefully you and Paul Hogan are coming up with a script for Crocodile Dundee 3.
Oh gosh. Oh man. Well, that was a great transition, Connor. That gave us a good laugh.
One of the greats.
All right,
I'm for real about all this. He's a really good wrestler. I take it back. He's not better than CM Punk. But
nope. It's recorded. We have words of you saying it.
I said it, but
you said it. No, you said it.
I take it back on that one. But he's better than everyone else in professional wrestling history besides CM Punk.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I have not watched him in the ring. I do apologize, Mr.
I've seen a couple of matches of his. Yeah, I've seen a couple of matches of his.
And the best thing about his character is his theme song. It's my ringtone, literally. Like it's the song of wrestling. Like, people sing Judas, but they should be singing this, not Judas. This song is a lot better. It was in a better era. Like, could you imagine the fans singing this song instead of Judas?
I am going to have to go listen to it after the show's done for sure. All right, guys. Let's start talking about the bad, the one-offs, and my God, what was Vince McMahon thinking?
It's a classic.
The first one that comes to mind, we have to talk about this because Mark Calloway thought it was going to be him. Do you guys know what wrestler that was? The only one-off appearance with this wrestler. The Gobbledygooker.
Oh, God.
Coming out of a freaking egg at Survivor Series. It's so funny to think that Mark Calloway thought he was going to be coming out of the egg.
Golly. What a turn of events that would have been.
I don't even know who played the dang turkey.
I believe it was Terry Taylor.
It was Terry Taylor?
It was Taylor. It was Terry Taylor, yep.
Wasn't he
Sadly.
also the Red Rooster?
He's like, I didn't want to be the Eggman.
Sadly, it was Terry Taylor.
Oh,
That was
Was he
that was
Red-
Hector, no, it's Hector Guerrero.
oh gosh! Like
I thought it was
that's
Hector
another one.
Guerrero.
Was it?
Terry Taylor was the
Who was-
rooster. Hector Guerrero was the gobbledygooker. Eddie
Hector
Guerrero's
Oh, you're
brother.
right.
Because I was like, did he play? I knew he played Red Rooster.
Yeah, I knew
The
he played
gobbledygooker
that.
was Hector Guerrero.
I just
Okay,
want to say
You're right. It was Hector Guerrero.
Actor Guerrero.
That's sad.
It's very sad.
Because Hector
But,
Guerrero
hey,
is a really nice
Vince
man.
McMahon for you, you know. Ah, you got a very
It
wrestling
is
name
sad.
lineage. Well, I'm gonna put you in a turkey suit, and you're gonna come out of an egg. Yeah, that's good shit.
Well, what about the
That's-
Shockmaster? I mean, come
The
Jeez.
on.
shot.
If you watch the video, of that whole thing going on, you can hear, I don't know who it is, but you can hear who's ever backstage laughing. They are laughing
Arn
their heads
Anderson.
off on microphone.
No, it's Ole
Because
Anderson.
yeah, it was Ole Anderson laughing in the back when it happened because he felt they're like, oh god, this is not going well.
Yeah,
And
Ric Flair was like,
Ole
oh
Anderson-
god.
Yeah, Rick
Oh,
was
God.
going God. Sting was like, this is ridiculous. But then Ole Anderson, you could hear laughing because of how bad it was going.
Yeah.
Because did that gimmick just die that day? Like
Oh yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen
no, it
figures
never,
of it.
yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
I've seen figures and I've seen how they usually will put them upside down in the package and everything for it. But who played Shockmaster? Was it Tugboat?
It's
Yeah,
Tugboat.
It's Tugboat. You know, I
Yeah,
have
it was
to admit this.
Tugboat.
I think Tugboat was kind of underrated.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was really. He was also Typhoon, I believe. With,
Very.
Tugboat
Earthquake.
and Typhoon, yeah.
Oh, speaking of, we forgot to mention
Mhm.
Earthquake. He was a pretty
Oh, forgot about Earthquake, yeah.
natural disasters. But Tugboat, he was a really good wrestler.
All right. Okay, so what was one of the
I think legend has it that Dusty Rhodes put a little plank of wood down there at the bottom of the thing where the Shockmaster couldn't see it.
Mhm.
And as he came out, the Shockmaster tripped over that little plank of wood. Now,
What?
Damn.
legend has it Dusty Rhodes nailed that plank of wood to the wall. Just to rib him, and that ruined his career.
Or it could have been that freaking bedazzled stormtrooper mask that kind of did him in too.
Where you only have like that much vision to see out of.
Yeah, no wonder those guys. No wonder those guys are always missing.
Fair enough. You know,
That's why they
Yeah,
never
it's
had
kinda-
kids.
dang,
Damn.
Adam. You know, another one of those wrestlers that's like, why was this a gimmick? The Goon.
The who?
Oh my
The
god.
Goon.
Oh,
The Goon was a hockey
Wow.
player,
The Goon?
Connor.
Oh yeah,
Goon, yeah.
yeah.
The Goon.
I thought you were saying the ooh, but
I think
Goon, yeah.
I think it's because Friday the 13th was so huge in the 80s that Vince was like, we gotta have a hockey guy. Oh, bro, we gotta have someone as a hockey. Freddy's or Jason's huge. We need someone like that. Like it's just so dumb. Like it's just the dumbest idea ever. It's
Like,
worse than
talking
RoboCop in WCW.
Oh God,
We're
RoboCop.
talking about like ultimate jobbers. That was one of the most ultimate jobbers you could have ever.
Oh no, he just had to ring up
gosh.
RoboCop and Sting.
Oh, why?
Because I
Why?
can.
I prefer
Oh.
the Texas Chainsaw Death match that AEW had with Leatherface coming out. I prefer that over RoboCop.
Yeah.
Golly, what a stink! I enjoyed it, but man, like the
Oh,
Goon was
the
a
Brooklyn Brawl.
stinker. The Brooklyn Brawler. Was he? Because he was actually a solid wrestler, wasn't he? Or a solid brawler, I should say.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
really?
Brooklyn Brawler. Yeah, he was actually like a legit like character back then. Like he actually was taken seriously, and then in the 90s he became a jobber.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
He played a
Brooklyn
lot of
Brawler
characters.
was like he was like gay.
True. Poor Mr. Jacobs. Oh.
Yeah, he played a bunch of characters. My uncle met
Yeah.
him one time, and he
And I mean, yeah.
I think we're having some technical difficulties. We do apologize, folks. But man, didn't Colt Cabana play the Brooklyn
I'm
Brawler
gonna have a
on
bit of
Young
delay
Rock?
over here. I'm not sure.
Because didn't Colt Cabana play Brooklyn Brawler?
when in the 90s.
Like no, like Colt Cabana for Young Rock. Apparently, I think Colt
Oh,
Cabana
he did.
played Brooklyn Brawler.
Oh, I
If I
didn't know
remember
that.
correctly. Yeah, he was. I think he was in Young Rock as Brooklyn Brawler when they were talking about his debut. And Colton Cabana had it. He actually stole the gimmick for a couple matches.
Well, I didn't.
So
That's pretty neat. I didn't know that.
yeah,
I think so.
you know one that I don't remember, but I had the toy
I think
of
so.
the Mountie. What the was the Mountie?
Canadian.
Yeah, on Young Rock, I think
Oh, sorry.
so.
Oh, dang. Poor Mr. Jacobs. But what the heck happened with the Mountie? Like, I don't remember a whole lot of the Mountie. Like, I can't think of any moment. I can see him standing in the ring, but that's about it when it comes to that memory.
Now, just like the Texas Tornado, he did win the Intercontinental Championship. Somehow, some way, the Mountie was able to win the Intercontinental Championship.
What?
He won
No
it.
way.
He won it, and he only won it one time. And like there was guys like him and Texas Tornado and Dean Douglas and all these guys that somehow, some way, won the Intercontinental Championship.
No kidding.
Oh, the man. Yeah, let's get this man.
The Worker Man Championship for sure. Man, it's just crazy to think that. What else? Who else are we missing that had the weird one-offs or like you remember the character but don't remember their match?
Doink the Clown.
Doink and Dink.
No, I remember Doink. Like that's a memory I remember.
Well, there was actually three.
It never goes away. It's not even a one-off. He was around for a while, though he was played by many different people. His character stuck around.
Well,
The
there
Matt
was,
Bourne. That Matt Bourne documentary was pretty depressing.
what was the one? Like, what was the name that you just said? Lane, Doink, and
Doink and Dink.
well, like it was Doink,
Or was
Dink, and Dick, wasn't it right?
there was Evil Doink.
No, there was three of them. There was Doink, Dink, and Dick, right?
I think so. I can't remember.
I don't know.
No. Let's see. Doink the Clown.
I
Tag
don't
team.
think so, Connor.
Connor. And just like that. Let's see.
Oh my God!
I gotta
Connor,
see. Doink the Clown.
okay, Connor's on one tonight, and I love it. Like
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
No, like it was a big thing at WrestleMania. So it was Doink, Dink, and Dick. It was
no. It was he had a sidekick named Dink the Clown.
Well,
who
Doink was actually a really good
approximately 4 feet tall,
wrestler.
wore a similar clown suit. The Doink, yes, it was. There was no.
well, like the person that
There was
played
no
Dick
Dick.
was Big Dick Johnson. You don't remember
But-
who that is?
Yeah,
He
I don't
was the
think.
one that came out in the with Vince McMahon. He was the son,
Yeah.
and he wore the kind of thong thing and
Oh gosh.
came out. And
Oh man.
the more you know, everyone.
Yeah. The more you know. Oh man. But Doink, I think Doink was such a crazy character though, but Matt Bourne really played his character. It kept it
remember-
going.
Like I remember Adam telling us a story about that, about Doink the Clown, about his real personal life.
Yeah, it was an episode of Dark Side of the Ring, is what it was, and it was about Matt Bourne, who originally played him, who fell in like drugs and alcohol and all that stuff. So
Yeah, it was crazy. Definitely a good.
my ears
Definitely
are
a good watch.
so,
Oh, you're
so
good.
that's why I took my headphones off. They're a little sweaty and just.
All right.
Oh yeah, I felt it. You were talking about, in case anyone, Glenn was talking about earlier about Colt Cabana played the Brooklyn Brawler on the Young Rock series. I actually looked that up, and he plays the Brooklyn Brawler pretty well.
Yeah.
There he is in the middle. Chavo Guerrero is actually in there.
Well, Chavo does a lot of it's crazy. That's just a little side tangent, but think about how many movies that Chavo Guerrero has done the wrestling for and the scripting for. Because I know he did Glow. He did with Heels. He did Heels as well.
Well, you know why he did Glow was because
He ran out of money.
His Hector Guerrero, right? Was it?
Yeah.
It was what was his name who did the original training of the girls in Glow in the 80s? Mondo. It was Mondo. Mondo Guerrero was the original trainer for all the girls from the original Glow in the 80s.
I did not know that. So basically, he just continued on what
his family did.
Yeah, his family did. Yeah, so that's awesome. Well, there's a lot of characters. Yep, Mr. Jacobs, come back on. There we go. Yeah, let's see if that works. Welcome back, Mr. Jacobs.
All right, my sound okay now? Am I synced up? Because I was on huge delay.
You're still a little bit on delay.
Hey, you heard all the things about Point the Clown, right? You heard all that sequence.
Yeah, that I know Doink and Dink, but I don't remember Dink. I don't remember Dick.
Yep, he was there. He wasn't that popular.
I think it must have been just brief because I remember Dink.
He was really hard to see.
Dang.
Well, yeah, he was very hard to see.
There was a lot of stiff competition. So
saw the jokes there, but I'm not going there.
You guys are great. All right, guys. Well, before we hop off for the night, let's do a quick round robin. And who was your favorite wrestler of the Golden Era? We're going to start down below with the bearded wonder himself. Adam, who is your favorite Golden Era wrestler?
Probably what a lot of wrestlers would say, because he was kind of like a teacher to them, was Dusty Rhodes. I loved his character. I loved the polka dots. His promos were probably some of the best promos outside of WWF. And he was just a well-respected person throughout the industry, even up until his passing. So I would say probably my favorite wrestler of the Golden Age was Dusty Rhodes.
Very good pick. Think about how many wrestlers that Dusty Rhodes has touched over the years. How many talent has he helped, and how many people now in WWE are huge stars because of him. So
I wonder if
shout out to Dusty Rhodes.
I wonder if Dusty Rhodes ever helped out Dick and the clowns and all that.
All right, Connor.
Dusty Rhodes helped out a lot of people.
I think we know who Connor's favorite wrestler was.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of goofballs out there.
Well, he's behind you.
Behind
you.
Maybe.
All right, Connor. Who is your favorite Golden Era wrestler?
Outback Jack.
Outback Jack.
No, I'm not. All right, if we're being serious, it's probably Dick.
Probably Dick. Oh my gosh.
No, if I had to say, probably it would have to be Randy Savage.
Oh yeah.
It's really tough because there's a lot of good ones.
Sorry, I had to.
Wait, what were you saying?
Oh, I was playing the Outback Jack theme.
Nice.
Well, it's kind of, no disrespect to everyone else, but I'm going to say Macho Man, but Outback Jack was a little bit more superior over Macho Man because...
Watch the wallaby feed.
There we go.
Watch the wallaby.
Macho Man didn't have anything like that. He just said, oh, yeah, but Outback Jack had the kangaroos out there. He was out in the wilderness fighting for his life.
Oh my gosh.
but I'm gonna say Macho Man.
Nothing.
But Macho Man's my favorite, but Outback Jack's the best.
Outback Jack. All right, Mr. Jacobs, Mr. 5-star himself. Who is your favorite wrestler of the Golden Era?
Man, I was always a fan of the Madness. Don't you dare say it, Connor. It was never Hulk Hogan. No, but I was always a fan of the Madness. Yeah. Just the whole persona of the Macho Man was always captivating to me. And I was more a fan of his than ever of Hulk Hogan's. I always thought he was better than Hulk, in my opinion. But yeah, it's gotta be Randy Macho Man Savage for me.
Definitely a very good pick. When you think personalities, Macho Man's probably the top of the list. No matter what era we're talking about, Macho Man was always up there for sure. I think thinking about, for me, it's got to be Bret Hart. I love Macho Man, but there was something about Bret Hart when he was a champion. Like, you felt like he should have been bigger than Hogan. Hogan, I think, was more for the kids, but I feel like Bret was for the adults, the hardcore wrestling fans, and just the way that he would move in the ring, his style. A lot of him and his brother Owen, if it wasn't for those two, we wouldn't have a lot of the modern professional wrestling, storytelling and matches that we have now. So for me, Bret Hart definitely, I feel like he was one of the best champions of WWF history. And, unfortunately, the screw job is very iconic, but his match with Shawn Michaels, his Iron Man match with Michaels, one of the best Iron Man matches of all time. So for me, it's the Hitman himself.
I'm glad someone said Bret Hart because he's well deserved of any kind of favorite spot.
For sure. Well, all right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for Talking Elite tonight. I want to thank Connor, Mr. Jacobs, and Adam for coming on. It was a lot of fun tonight to talk everything with our personalities and gimmicks from the Golden Era. It was a lot of fun. We'll probably do one of the Attitude Era here shortly. But next week's episode is going to be a banger. We are talking Impact Wrestling, the rise, the fall, and new rise again. So we're going to talk everything with Impact/TNA coming up next week here, 7 Central, live on the All Elite Zone podcast. Don't forget, coming up here on November 11th, we are having the corporate stooge himself, Brandon Cutler, on the podcast. So make sure you guys join us right before AEW, so that way you guys can ask your questions, get to know Brandon Cutler. Let's have fun. Let's nerd out with one of the biggest nerds in professional wrestling. I, for one, cannot wait. Connor, is there anything you want to add?
What's that?
Is there anything you want to add before we sign off?
I said there is another interview coming. There is one more interview before the year's over. We've had a very decent amount of interviews this year. The last one will be in December. I think I'm 90% sure I'll be able to announce it in November. Actually, I had a phone call with their agent. As I said, only Adam knows who this is. No one else knows who this is. This is the biggest thing we'll ever have on here until Outback Jack. Not I'm just kidding about that. This person is multi-time world champion, multi-time WrestleMania main eventer. He's done it all. So definitely subscribe down below to help us get more bigger names on here.
I cannot wait to see who that is. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, on X, and on Facebook. Check out our links in the description below. Get up to date on all of our announcements. Don't forget, we have AEZ Canada every Saturday, our weekly watch-alongs, and Talking Elite here every Thursday. Thanks again to my panel. And if there is nothing left to say, Adam, I think it's time to close out the night. So, Adam, say your famous words and let's send us home.
And I'm going to try this in my best Outback Jack accent. And as always, have a good night.
Peace.